And we crossed over to Birmingham for that race. We were talking about how high stakes is this election, and especially for the region. We have even America has come out, UK, some countries are telling us, you guys, observe the democratic space of Kenyans. We want these elections to be, just underscores how critical Kenya elections are, especially for the region.
Definitely, because Kenya is critical. Kenya is extremely critical. You know, sometimes the problems that we have within the country, we spend a lot of time conversing and concentrating on our problems, that we sometimes lose sight that actually when you get into the region and the world over, we are a very respected country, and many countries and many people actually do not take us for granted. That's why sometimes it's good for us to give some of our good things enough airtime. Because when you go out there, we are not as bad as sometimes we imagine. And one of also the other reasons why this election is critical is because it's a transition election. It's an election that a presidency is coming to an end, and therefore the country is expecting a new dispensation whichever way. Like we wake up on the 9th or the 10th, whatever, during the date that the IEBC chairman announces results, and we are sure that the president, at least for one thing we are sure, is that the president will not, who will be declared winner, will not be my party leader, Uhuru Kenyatta. And that is why there is a lot at stake. There are a lot of relationships at stake. We have people who have relations with this country, business relations, that know that during a transition, there will always be a shake-up here and there. And that's why people have a lot of interest in this country. As Prof said rightfully, most of even the headquarters of most of these international organizations actually domiciled here in Nairobi. So we are a country that means a lot, not just for the East African community, not just for Africa as a continent, but world over. And therefore, it's high time we also think about concentrating and also giving our people the perspective of the positive energy that this country actually has out there. Most of even the brain drain that happens, we are one of the countries where despite the fact that brain drain is not a very good thing, but it also shows the capacity and the capability of our people back here in the country to be needed across the world. So yes, this election is very central, it's very important to very many players, but it's just because, one, it's a transition election, and two, it points to the fact that we are quite a critical country both in the region, in the continent, and in the world.
Indeed. And talking of transition, Prof, before we cross over to Doreen, the presidency, Uhuru's presidency, will be judged by history as the presidency that oversaw the midwifery of the 2010 Constitution. And so his government is the first under the 2010 Constitution.
Yes, that's true. A very big task and responsibility to implement the 2010 Constitution, and therefore be the one to set precedent that other presidents in future will have to be measured with. The issue of devolution, he had to oversee that. The constraining of the presidency. See, one of the things that 2010 Constitution did is to try and put brakes on the presidency, so that sometimes the president appears as if he can do very little without being cross-checked somewhere. So, being the first one to be elected under that arrangement then sets him apart, and his performance will be judged in future, depending on how things turn out. The historians of the future will be deciding that. But he has that privilege of being the first under very difficult circumstances. You know, he came to office under a cloud of international suspicion or hostility. The ICC thing, it was hostility. And fortunately, it eroded, disappeared.
Oh, the time of choices have consequences.
Yeah, when it was Johnny Carson in Washington, what the Western powers were saying was that they did not want Uhuru and Ruto to be elected, for whatever reason. So that's why they were saying, if you elect those two, you're going to have some problems. You see dust. And then that was Johnny Carson. Then you had some British High Commissioner, the new one, who had just arrived within 3 weeks. And he started saying strange things about, if you do this, you have essential contacts only. So the threats, these were threats. And Kenyans did not take it very kindly, because it was an assertion of imperialist proclivities and desires. And Kenyans reacted to that by voting for Uhuru. So to some extent, Uhuru's election was an anti-imperial vote by Kenyans, saying, please don't tell us what to do. We can do it to ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. And still on the same, it's a good thing that you've mentioned Kenyans didn't actually heed to that, but decided, if it's a mistake, let's make our own mistakes.
Yes.
Under all that and under the international hostility that was there, we can say that President Uhuru has done quite well. Looking at Kenya's foreign policy has been quite checkered, if you ask me. Grabbing a seat at the UN, although it's a non-permanent seat at the UN Security Council, we have seen him be or leading continental organization. He has been at IGAD, at the AU, East African Community. He did well.
Yeah, he did. No, comparatively, Kenya's foreign policy performance was better than its domestic performance.
That's quite an observation.
Yeah. Now, Uhuru, as a person, is very amiable. And he's got a good name, Kenyatta, his father's name. So there is an attraction to it, to that. But as a person, he is very easy to deal with. He gets along with a lot of people. He's charming. So despite the hostility, he was able to charm his way into the leadership of other places. Once they meet him, they change their mind.
Yes.
And he has traveled a lot. And that traveling has also meant that the people he visits also come and visit. So we have had a lot of foreign leaders visiting Kenya, and that's for the better part, partly in response to his own visit. And so the relations seem to be getting better. So the countries that appear to be hostile initially became some of his better friends. The British, particularly, were very hostile. But towards the end of it, he seems to be getting along with British officials. That's an achievement. The Americans are no longer making those strange noises. And one of the other things that happened with the election of Uhuru in 2013, was that the Western powers learned a lesson. Stop making a lot of noise and trying to force other people to do things they don't want to, because you lose. They lost. So they had to rethink themselves and said, if next time you want to say something, say it in a polite way, but don't go around making demands which make no sense. And the people react and say, no, you are not going to tell us that. And it was not just the Kenyans who reacted. Even the African countries reacted. I think you remember Yoweri Museveni came to Yana. What did he say? He said, thank you, Kenyans, for telling off these imperialists.
Yes.
So the election then became not just a Kenyan one, it was an African thing, because of the way the Western powers had behaved in a very awkward way. So I think they learned their lesson. From that time, they have been very careful. They just say, oh, no, we just want you to have a good election, but no orders.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did. And of course, I'm going to give you a chance, but let's first of all cross over to Doreen. We're going to hear what you have, the sentiments that you have in regards to Kenya's foreign policy. Doreen on the other side of the studio.
Yes, and just speaking of President Uhuru Kenyatta, this is exactly what we just want to get into right now, looking at his home turf. Remember, we are still continuing to just unpack for you what is happening this particular election, and also what you're still trying to focus on is the incumbent senators, trying their bid at the top county job, that is the position of governor. And again, there's a lot that has been said in respect to particularly the second-term senators. Just why are they seeking the top county job? And particularly this one, whom we'll be focusing on, that is Kimani Wamatangi, who is actually a second-term governor. Kiambu County is the county we begin with this evening, where we're looking at 7 candidates who have obviously been cleared by IEBC, and so clearly they are on this particular race, and it's really quite an interesting race, I can tell you for sure. I mean, Kiambu County commands a total of 1.2 million voters. This is just closely after Nairobi, which has a total of 2.4 million voters. So this actually county falls in the counties that has the majority of voters. You actually have a total of 6 counties, and Kiambu is the second of that county, and it is also the home turf of President Uhuru Kenyatta, Gatundu to be specific. So again, there's also a lot of conversation in respect to, is it going to be a vote in terms of affirming the president or a protest vote? But before we get to all of that, let's just look at Senator Wamatangi. Look at his life, his political life, political history, when he began and what he had been doing before he got to elective politics. So this is the man, Wamatangi. They are born on 6th August 1965, and obviously he's one of those leaders that has not really had issues with his academic qualifications. Remember that this is one of those elections whereby we have witnessed a lot of push and pull in respect to just leaders having issues with their academic qualifications. So this clearly shows you his school life and when he graduated. But looking at all of that, before he got to politics, and particularly elective politics, he was a businessman in his own right. He has been a managing director as well as CEO of various companies. In fact, just before he got to elective politics in 2013, in 2003, this is exactly 10 years before that, he was just trying to see how best he can elevate the lives of people, particularly living in Kiambu, look at their lives, so to speak, in terms of try to lift up those living in abject poverty. And that's when he just came up with the Wamatangi Foundation, which basically sought to just look for better ways, in particularly for women groups, in terms of just giving them water tanks. And that is how actually he got the name Wamatangi. So that is just a direct translation of water tanks to Wamatangi, because this is one of those projects that he really got himself into. He also got an honorary award for basically this works that he had been doing in this particular county, just in terms of elevating the lives of persons living in Kiambu County. Just looking at basically what he did there, and fast forward that to 2013, that is when he got to elective politics, vying for the position of senator in Kiambu County via the TNA ticket, and he got that. From there in 2017, again, still vied for the same position and was able to be elected as senator of this particular county. While he was still serving in Senate, he was appointed as majority whip, and this is after Senator Kihika as well as Senator Kangata were axed from this particular seat. Remember that this was also that time where we had again the Tanga and Kieleweke, those that were allied to the DP and those that were allied to the president. And so his role, particularly as majority whip, was also just to serve the needs of the party. And what really resulted also for him to be removed from this particular position is when he defected from Jubilee and went to support the deputy president in the UDA party. So right now he is seeking to be elected as governor of Kiambu County. And remember, he is not alone on this particular race. As I mentioned, this is a race that really has, if I could say, political bigwigs, because there are names that you are very, very familiar with. But we are not yet done with this particular county, because, as I mentioned, this is a key county of focus, just like Nairobi is. So we will be coming back to this county to just expound further and look at why it is a key county of focus, look at how the voter patterns have been looking like in this county, and also look at whether it's going to be a vote of affirmation or a protest vote. Troy.
Indeed, that's quite a comprehensive one, but of course we're going to be looking at other contestants, because it has quite attracted, and its proximity to Nairobi makes it quite historic. Let me give Professor Macharia Munene the last sentiments before we cross over to Bomas. Of course, we're going to be coming back to studio with advice, but Prof, it's the biggest election, and of course a transition, as advice put it, because we are expecting a new leadership altogether.
Yes, we are expecting a new president because the one sitting cannot continue because the constitution says 2 terms and out. Actually, it was President Moi who put that on there for different reasons. But it was a good innovation on his part. The election that's a day after tomorrow is important for the country. It is also a trial. We'll see how people behave. It is also a trying moment, given that we have had very strange campaigns, particularly at the presidential level, in ways that has not been seen before. And we have at least the leading candidates, Raila Odinga and William Ruto. They are neck and neck, and the being neck and neck, it means that it can go either way.
Yeah.
And so the best thing is, first of all, people go and vote for the candidate of their choice. But be ready. If you are Raila Ban, be ready for a Ruto victory. And if you are Ruto man, be ready for a Raila what?
A victory.
Yes, because it can go either way. And the main thing is, whichever way it goes, it's a positive step in Kenya's development and evolution. It should be taken that way. And because somebody has to lose and somebody has to win. We say that the president is leaving, but he's not leaving on 10th. No, he's not. Because the announcement, the results will be announced on the 13th. So he cannot leave on the 10th.
Yeah.
And once they are announced, a few things are likely to happen. So we should be ready for them. One is that everybody is so happy that they will accept the winner. There will be no election petitions. There will be no runoff because the winner will be clear.
Okay. And because of the interest of time?
Yeah, so that one, if that's the best scenario, then you can have a new president on the 13th of September. Other than that, expect a long delay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, indeed. Thank you so much. That has been Professor Macharia Munene giving us his insight in the coming election, which is just due in the next around 24 hours. But first things first, let's also cross over to Bomas. We are here at Broadcasting House na bado tuko site at the Bomas of Kenya, where Brian Kimani is also on standby to give us a feel of how the National Polling Center, the Bomas of Kenya, is and will be. O'Brien, over to you.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Ben Troy, Joe, and Doreen Arange there at Broadcasting House. Of course, trying to unpack what has been happening in the last couple of days. It has been a busy day, Sunday, for politicians who spent their last campaign day or Meet the People tour, in various churches, of course, trying to sell their images and trying to sell their voices. It's proper to put in mind that, the official campaigning period came to a close yesterday. And so now candidates plus their agents now have retreated to try and reassess their positions and, of course, see what they can do to try and turn the favor into their sides. Well, good evening and thank you very much for joining us. It's coming almost to quarter to or half past. It's actually half past 11 here at the Bomas of Kenya. This is the National Tallying Center. We've been camping here for the whole of this week, and of course this is where we are to ensure that we give you unrivaled coverage, and of course we give you a sneak preview of what is happening just behind me there, where you can see that the huge lantern that is the the National Tallying Center. That is where actually everything will be taking place. Inside that huge auditorium here at the Bomas of Kenya is where hundreds of observers, both local as well as international, as well as IEBC officials and journalists and party agents, will be convening from Tuesday evening to come and wait for the big announcements. And of course, we have heard it from IEBC saying that, of course, they would want to stick within the law and ensure that presidential candidate is delivered within the legally mandated 7 days. But of course, they are planning to do it that in a much shorter time. It could be 3 days, it could be 4 days, I do not know. But of course, IEBC has said that they would really want to make that announcement before the official 7 days. And so now we're talking about less than 34 hours, before millions of Kenyans, troop to the polling stations and, of course, to cast their ballots to choose their next leaders. Well, here at the Bomas of Kenya, and of course, as Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, we have our teams spread out all over the country to ensure that, we bring you the results as they are happening. We bring you the action as it is unfolding. We have our reporters on the ground, and of course, we are here at the National Tallying Center. I've been telling you things that we are the first station, of course, to give you live feeds from the National Tallying Center here at the Bomas of Kenya. And of course, we continue to do this until the final whistle is blown by the IEBC. Well, on set tonight, I'm about to unveil my guest tonight, and this is none other than Dr. Fred Ogola, a public policy analyst and, of course, a lecturer at the Strathmore Business School. He's joining us here to help and respond to some few questions that you have posted, and, of course, to also help us put now what is happening into perspective. Fred, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us this last minutes of Sunday.
Thank you very much, O'Brien.
Very good. First of all, I want to hear from you. We saw politicians, presidential candidates, governors, members of parliament, MCAs, all of these people, trooping to churches, to mosques, to temples, and of course play, united in prayer, as they were saying. What do you make of that?
Of course, you see, there are some things we call hygiene issues, because everybody is asking, where is so-and-so? Where is my candidate? Where did they spend their Sunday? So this is the time you go with the family. You have to show you're a family man. You have to show you're a religious man. Remember that Africans are still notoriously religious. So no one can say that I'm not religious. To say you are an atheist in Africa looks a little bit very bad. So it's a time when everybody is being questioned about the religious standing. They can say you are united, they are praying for peace. This is the time to pray. By the way, honestly, you realize that even if you have the numbers and polls are showing you are likely to win, you are not winning until the ballots are counted. So you pray. There's a bit of luck also. So in as much as you are sure that you can win, nobody can actually say absolutely you can sure. Can you imagine some of us when you are doing exams? You know very well in last mock, you scored 98%. But then when exams come, you still panic, yet you scored 98%. How about them who are scoring 50s or 40s in polls, yet they want to win? I think the panic was there, and this is the time when you tell God that, God, you know what? You are my creator. I come before you and ask you. And also it's about uniting the country. Remember, the prayer days in Kenya is not something which is very, let's say, foreign. Prayer days, people go and attend prayers. What are you doing on Sunday? But also, it's a way to campaign without saying anything. People see in church walking around, cameras on you. There are some votes which will come your way without even you saying a word or asking for a vote. Yes.
I know probably, you may not be having, a straight card answer to this, but I want you to second guess some of these politicians. What do you think they are doing now, and how do you think they're spending their last hours before Kenyans, make that critical choice?
O'Brien, you see that these guys have been running up and down campaigning. We call that mobilizing resources, mobilizing people for the agenda and the rest. But you know what? This election will be won on logistics. So this is where sometimes this night and tomorrow's night to Tuesday is the highest spend. They are going to spend paying every single agent, every single logistics. So getting logistics right, go out, vote, facilitate this guy, facilitate that guy, ensuring that everything goes right. This is the time when they are spending time to do what's called proper administration. They have done resource mobilization. They have mobilized people. They have sold their agenda. But how do you get that vote inside the ballot and get it counted and let it count? This is what is most important. This is not the time to talk about we're supposed to campaign in the more years. That's no more. At the same time, some of them are also doing audit. What have we done right, what have we done wrong, isn't it? Is there some areas we need to be worried about? People say they have technology to also do parallel tallies. Are they working or not? Everybody's testing their tools and also just ensuring that if there's any challenges that that maybe could be on the point of the super referee, which is the Supreme Court, looking at what was happening from IBC, are they doing their things right? That is what is happening at the moment. But also, it's also a time to rest. I'm sure these guys have run for the last few days without any breather. Some of them have had 6-8 rallies in a day. So they are doing both of that, but nevertheless, it is not over until it is over.
It's not yet over until it is over. I mean, today we have seen President Uhuru Kenyatta address a section of the media in this country, both radio as well as televisions. You know, of course, pleading with Kenyans that it is high time, that we put the interest of this nation first, and we elect people who are going to drive the economic agenda of this country forward, the health agenda, the social agenda of this country forward. What do you think will be the impact of Uhuru Kenyatta's gesture today to this election?
Yeah, of course, before this day, we've had so much people tweeting and saying that how can a president, few days to the election, retreat and speak to people in his mother tongue? But people have forgotten Uhuru had been on a rally to every part of the country. The other day he was in Kisumu, he was in Mombasa opening projects. So he said, let me finish with my home. And now when you're talking to your people at home, my brother Ran, when I go home, I go to my language, I speak Luo. So I don't think something offensive about that, but let's forget about all that we have had in the media. Let's forget about the noise and focus on the signal. What was the president's message? Mm-hmm. The president came back and gave us a very important documentary by saying that what has been my political life. He talked about 2007 when he was leader of opposition. Everybody faulted him as leader of opposition for going to step down and supporting a government. He is the first in history to have ever left opposition to support government. Then people said he was wrong. He said even his party wanted to crucify him. Then he went over and said, now, in 2013, the Kikuyus had just fought with the Kalenjins in the elections of 2007. So he came and said, excuse me, let us now work with the people we fought with so that we can build peaceful country. He said again, even his own kinsmen and women disagreed with him on that. Then, of course, when he said he ran for election in 2017, he said he won. His election was nullified. Mm-hmm. Then he said, let him have a handshake with his brother Raila, mm-hmm. so that they can be able to have a peaceful country, a functioning state. Mm-hmm. And he said the magic about that is that he didn't have to sack anybody. Raila never asked for any position. Raila was selfless and he was a statesman. Mm-hmm. So he was simply saying, in all his political steps he's made, it seems that his kinsmen have disagreed with him, but the kinsmen have gotten better results other than what they thought. So he's telling them, why don't you trust me? I was wrong. I was right 3 times. You are wrong 3 times. I'm taking my 4th step and you think I'm wrong. please come and support my cause. I'm sure if his kinsmen he was speaking to in his own mother tongue could hear this, then they should actually be able to change their mind. And maybe, because opinion polls are not allowed, if we are to do opinion poll after that speech, you could see that some people who are already on their stance will never change. Of course, some people will never change. But you could see some of the undecided voter, or those who had just a soft spot for the other side but were not decided, they could change their mind. But I'm sure President Uhuru Kenyatta was telling his kinsmen that, mark my words, if you walk this direction, you'll go. He made a statement there. A sword on the wrong side of your hand can be used dangerously against you. But a sword on the right side can actually be used to secure your future. So he's telling them, which journey do you, which hand do you want to hold the sword? And he was saying, should you take the wrong sword, you'll have it. Which means that also as head of state, he was saying, I'll be free to hand over the sword to whoever you give me, but will leave with the right hand. I think he's just not questioning his kinsmen, but also questioning the whole nation. I'll hand over the sword, choose whom you want to have the sword. I've told you, the wrong person with the sword will harm you. The right person with the sword will protect your future. So the choice is yours.
I mean, the official campaigning period, definitely came to a close yesterday. Saturday, the 6th.
Yes.
And President Uhuru Kenyatta has made his political choice known.
Yes.
And he has never been shy, saying that this is my candidate and I want you to vote for this candidate. This event, do you think it's likely to be seen, in some quarters as a veiled way of campaigning for his preferred candidate?
For sure, you see, what's happening is that he had to do that because, see, what's happening, you have to put your skin in the game for something. And I would go back and say that this is not unusual. Actually, what is happening in Kenya is not very unusual. Remember, in 2016, Obama was a sitting president of the US. He campaigned openly for Hillary Clinton. Why didn't we complain as Kenyans? Then Obama told them that Trump was the wrong president for America. But Americans disagreed with Obama. They saw fire. In 2020, the same Americans now joined Obama in bringing down Trump. So, should Kenyans wait for us to make a mistake? That's what the president is trying to say. So, it's not bad for someone to say, this is my candidate. He has the right. Now, how many people in Kenya have stood in the podium to endorse their candidate? Yet the president has no right to endorse a candidate. There is nothing constitutional that stops him from doing that. He has a personal right. And he said, in the end, I'll go Ishaweri with one vote and vote for whoever is my choice. Then others will vote theirs, will tally the vote. And I like what he said. I'll hand over power to whoever you give me. I'll give you direction, I'll give you guidance, but I'll hand over power to the person you give me. By the way, Obran, for me, President Uhuru Kenyatta goes down in history as one of the most enviable presidents in history of Kenya. I don't know how I want to explain to you this. Why I'm saying it, look, his father, the senior Kenyatta, died in power. So there was no succession stories around his succession. Moi, we were doubtful whether, even if Kibaki won, he will hand over power. And that's why immediately votes were being tallied. The likes of Raila went and said, please, hand over now, because they were doubtful that later things could change. Of course, that was very unclear, ambivalent, until Moi handed over power is when Kenyans believe that actually power can transition from one to the other. Now, when Kibaki was president, something Kibaki cannot be praised for is that he was very ambiguous about election. He said, tutachagwana tu, kesho, mwaka ujao. He was not very clear. But Uhuru has been saying, I have 3 months to go. I have 1 month to go. I have 3 weeks to go. He was very clear that he's leaving office. Look at all the military celebrations he has done in order to know that he's going home and that he's going to hand over to somebody. It's not a big deal. He told the people of Mount Kenya, I am not going anywhere. I am just leaving the seat of the presidency. I mean, that is so clear as a leader. I'm sure there's no Kenyan, all Kenyans can agree with me, that no one had the doubt that Uhuru will going to stick to power.
Well,
Which
but
has-
what the president is doing is actually sticking to the script.
Yes.
Because, I mean, he has run his course.
Yes.
It is high time. I mean, the time has come for him to pass the baton to the next president.
Yes.
I mean, so, well, definitely. I mean, this is something that is not very popular in Africa.
No, but you see, there are some presidents who have never given clear signs. Look at the election in DRC Congo. Was it clear that Kabila was going home? Was it clear? It was not. Even elections were taking place, people were doubting whether he will stick to it. It's happened everywhere. And for him, it was very clear. But let me tell you something also very interesting. The NAC election of 2002 gave Kibaki the choice to unite Kenyans politically and bring political stability once and for all. Though Kibaki has been praised by economic legacy, building political stability is not something he did, and he had the chance. He was given the chance to do that. He never used it. Now, Uhuru Kenyatta has created that chance, not given, created it. And he said that for us to prosper as a nation, we need a long-term period of political stability, because there's a correlation between a political stability period and economic stability or economic development or transformation. And that's what you want to say. Let's secure this political stability so that we never worry about politics. We focus on economics. You asked me later when you were joining this place, telling you, are we giving too much attention to politics? Yes, because before we become politically stable, we only discuss about political stability. Because if your thighs are itching you, you cannot scratch your neck. You'll only scratch where it's itching you. So the political stability is itching Kenyans more than the economic issues. That's why sometimes we forget about the economics, we only discuss about politics. In a stable economy like Japan, this does not take too much people discussing about politics. People just discuss about how much do we need to do, what do we need to construct, what's our economic direction, economic legacy. But at the moment, what is scratching us, what is itching us the most is our neck, and that is the political stability. We will scratch it forever.
And I mean, thank God that you have brought in the issue of the economy, because it seems like, it has taken the back pedal. And I was asking you this question. I mean, and you've tried to explain it, but what should we focus more on? Is it our economic well-being, bearing in mind that 46% of Kenyans they live below the poverty line, as described by the United Nations, which is less than $2 a day. That's about 230 shillings, a day. What would happen to us if we were to spend more time, thinking and minding about the health of our economy, as opposed to the health of our politics?
So, Obran, you're very right there that we are over-focusing on politics. And if I give analysis, I know KBC do not have a very strong print newspaper. Just take Nation newspaper since independence and look at the headline for those years until today. If there is no politic at the headline, there is scandal about corruption. Those are the only leading headlines in. If you analyze from since 1963 to today, meaning what is selling in Kenya in terms of news is politics or scandals. Now, scandal is not the thing we don't want. Politics is what is being consumed more. If you have headline news saying we are discussing about how the counties can grow, as headline news, no one will watch your news, they'll shift to another channel. So Kenyans, first of all, consume politics more than they consume economic stories.
But is that by design or by default?
Right. It is by default, because that's not what should be happening. I gave you what's called time spent on poverty. Spending more time in politics, less time in economics, you are spending time in poverty, spending less time on what can grow you. Like I told you, how much energy and time are you spending? Like now, people are sitting at home, already they have drawn all polling stations in Kenya, looking at numbers, what will Ruto get, what will Raila get, who will ask them for the outcome of those results? The tallying officer is who? Like you see on WhatsApp group, all alumni schools, people are trying to predict who is winning. Who wants to get your prediction? How will your prediction affect the results? Why don't you spend time with your family? People are in bars chatting about all this. So what I'm trying to say, we are spending more time on poverty, and that is to do politics. Sometimes, I'm sorry, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, very strong one. But do you know, Obran, some people spend 8 hours in church. I'm not against any church. But if you spend 8 hours in church, do you believe the more you pray is the more God hears? You can pray for 30 minutes, God can hear you. So I'm trying to say that I think we need to know what is our main focus. How can praying for 7 hours take kids to school? How can consuming politics from morning to evening make us advance? You see, people are coming for a let's say a political rally. People stay for 8 hours listening to speeches from all the MCAs, all MPs, all senators, all women rep, all governors, then the presidency. How long did the rally in Karnyayo take? How long did the rally in Kasarani take? All those are hours, traveling from places to places, all the noise about it. So I'm trying to say, I was in Spain, when I was doing my PhD in Spain. I remember elections were taking place, and I was not even aware, because there was no noise about it. No one sees this as do or death. They wait for the day, they cast ballot, and they get the leader and move on. We are taking too much time. But why are we taking too much time? What are they doing? What is the level of unemployment? What should they do? So what is the alternative? I have a young son called Mattis. If I tell him, don't play with the ball, I must tell him, but now go and swim. I can't tell him, don't play. Don't play with balls, or don't kick my glasses, but go and kick the ball. So what is the option these people have? So we also understand that in our economic and political history, we are still at where we are still about talking about Ruto, talking about Raila. Some people wait and see what's their manifesto. Who has read the manifestos for all these candidates? Tell me how many who are read page to page. Tell me who has listened to exactly what they are proposing for Kenya and they know. If you ask somebody, what is Babacare mean? If you ask somebody, what does Hustler Fund mean? What is Hustler Fund? Even you are an anchor. What is Hustler Fund? What is it? What does it mean? How we reach people? No one wants to know, but we want to know the personality cult, attacking people, and the rest. So I'm saying we are focusing on the wrong thing. We are spending also too much on it. And that is not how we build a resilient economy.
I mean, you know, I'm very fond of talking about, you know, economic as well as business matters. Because, look, for example, I mean, in the last 1 month, it seems like, you know, matters of economy, you know, have been put pending somewhere. Yes. And that is going to be the case, you know, until, you know, we know the winner, and depending on the kind of, you know, the kind of winners, I mean, well, not the kind of winners, but depending on the announcement, you know, some people are likely to go to Supreme Court, or maybe it's likely to be a runoff. And so we are likely to have the economy in suspense, you know, for a long time. And that is, of course, you know, impacting more damage to an economy that is already, you know, struggling because of COVID-19, because of the global geopolitics. What do we need to do? I mean, and what does this really mean for this economy?
You know, like you said the other time, we saw on the news that Treasury has suspended their business indefinitely until we know the next president. As soon as we enter, now we are doing around 30 hours and above, 30 hours, just about 30 hours, President Uhuru Kenyatta will enter what is called temporary incumbency, meaning he cannot make any executive decision. He cannot appoint anybody. He cannot fire anybody. And the people in the regime managing the national coffers can't do much with anything. They have to wait until the presidency. So you're very right, this has been suspended. But now, what are we supposed to do? We need leadership. And you know, leadership is such an important element in life. If our leaders are pointing us toward the direction of politics, propaganda, narratives that do not make sense. If you look at the last week of election, Obran, take all newspapers, since independence, since we started having multi-party elections in Kenya, the last 2 weeks to election, there is nothing like discussing manifesto and anything. It's propaganda and what you call smear campaign, name calling. People forget about what matters. And what's happening? it is me and you who actually care about those things more than the people who are running. Uhuru now and Raila and Ruto, they can call each other as we are speaking now and talking nicely and talking about what's happening very openly. But for us, we are the ones now, you take something, propaganda from Ruto, you throw at Raila, you take from Raila, you throw at Ruto. So I'm saying that, why don't we make people realize that election is not life or death? Election is just go cast a vote. You know, that's what it's matter. Just go and cast your vote. All these things are not important. Look at somebody's manifesto, read it, go cast the vote. We are not there. Anything they said, if you want to keep money, oh brand, don't put money in your wallet. Take a book and put your money inside a book. Throw it there, you'll find your money. But if you put your money in a wallet and drop there, it will be picked in a second. People don't want to read. People don't want to interact with the literature. And that's why we are hiding our money inside a book, not inside a wallet, because people won't read it. If you go to a rally and start talking about how you want to build roads infrastructure, they'll shout at you, want to listen to so-and-so. So-and-so is good entertainer. People like to be entertained. And that's why, most likely, the party that will have entertained most in this election might run with it. That's why you hire young people to put on your clothes and dance with your name and announce things. You pay them to entertain people. Then you get the numbers. That's it. Entertainment.
Prof, tell me things. I mean, when you talk to the National Treasury, when you talk to the World Bank, IMF, they have been saying that the Kenyan economy is expected to grow by about between 6.5 to 7%.
Yes.
In the year 2022.
Yeah.
But when you look at our level of investment, and I'm talking about both hard investment and soft investment in politics, I beg this question. I mean, what is the cost of this election to our economy?
Of course, this election, IBC asked for. By the way, we cannot know actual cost because we still do not know, because elections will begin on Tuesday. Mark the word begin. Because when it's end, we don't know. Because, for example, there are very many scenarios. If IBC has been given 44.6 billion shillings to run this election, if it's nullified, they'll give again another 44.6 billion shillings to run another election. Maybe without governance it might go down, but you can expect at least 30 billion. So that can be 70 billion. After nullification of that election, we do another one, then there can still be a runoff. Another runoff will cost you money. So election will begin, we'll spend minimum 44.6 billion. We can actually end up spending 200 billion. Who knows? We can spend 300 billion. Who knows? Now, if you can just take the minimum we can spend, and we just calculated that to do a level 4 hospital, it will cost you just slightly below 1 billion. It means that all counties in Kenya can have a level 5, a level 4 hospital in those counties. Kenyatta National Referral, remember the word, not referral, national referral, meaning that the level of Kenyatta National Referral Hospital, you can find it in every county. So if you are sick in Busia, you don't have to be airlifted to Nairobi. You can be treated like Kenyatta National Hospital right there. Build and equip with all the dialysis being done in Kenyatta National Hospital. All of them can be done in Busia, in Bungoma, in Kakamega. So that is what this, if we said this year we don't want an election, we'll have all those things set in place.
Is it a good price to pay?
The cost of democracy, my brother. Who brought democracy here? It is not an African thing. We had all the kingship, how power was transmitted without an election. Did your Kikuyu kinsmen have an election? There was none. There was no cost among the lower elders. You were promoted there by some means. So I'm saying it came to us. If you go to countries that do not actually have to go through such an election, it's hard. But remember, our problem is this. We don't trust each other.
Yeah, mistrust.
So cost of trust is increasing the cost of election. And remember, I told you last time when we met on NTV, I was telling you on KBC
KBC that
it cost $5 and in the West to do $5 per vote. So now we are doing 22,000.
So $5, that's about 700 shillings,
yes.
Kenya shillings.
Yes, so now that we are doing 22 million voters, you can get the numbers will be very low. Uganda does 12. Tanzania did 17. Kenya, it is $30 per vote, which means the ones of Kenya is very high. Remember, your voter, those forms, the ballot papers must be printed out of the country. They must have security features. They must be protected by the police, by guns all the way to the polling station and back. No one trusts nobody. So because
and those
of
ballot
that,
papers can be printed here, right?
clearly we have printers here. If you can print a book,
Because we print our money here anyway.
yes, of course. Look at even this work for decorating KBC has been done here. Is there something harder than doing this? So I'm saying, even if you look at the manifestos for different parties, beautifully printed here, within hours. For us, procurement process takes longer. You fly them in. They have to arrive by plane, which is not carrying any other passenger. You see, we are actually blowing
It is
our
a
money.
chartered plane.
Yes, chartered plane. Because no one can be trusted to carry them in a commercial plane. You cannot even give them to DHL. So I'm saying it is a crazy, crazy process that is we are going through here. Is it worth it? I don't think so, because we are spending our money because we don't trust each other. If we bring in trust, the cost goes down. But look here, in Uganda where there's tyranny, sorry to use this word tyranny, you can go to a polling station, people can pick papers, tick them and drop them in ballot paper, and no one can say they were wrong. But of course, what's happening? Are they going through any legitimate election? That's the main question. So in as much as it is bad to pay for it, what we are asking here, the main question is, if we pay 44.6 billion shillings to elect your governor, elect your senator, elect your member of parliament, women rep, your president, what value will you get from their leadership? And in fact, the people of Kenya needs to ask themselves, know how much it has cost you as a taxpayer to go through this election. So don't take this decision lightly. Obama once said that there's no vote which does not count. Put it where it counts. Elect the right leader. Let them give you value. Like you see, for example, look at some of the manifestos. You look at the one of Machakos, the guy is proposing something completely outstanding. Now, in Machakos, there's a very big challenge here. Will you choose this side? Will you choose Wavinya Wandeti? Will you choose Waita? The people of Machakos, we have spent 44.6 billion shillings. Whom do you want as your governor? We have come with what is called manifestos and regional manifestos. For example, Azimio came out with 10 regions in the country, and each region they knew had this specific interest and put the manifesto for that region, which will be aligned to national one. Now on the other side, Kenya Kwanza went to every county, and as they went to every county, they were telling every county how they'll implement bottoms up in those counties. Now when you are going to elect the leaders, who will be able to help with these manifestos for the different countries, whether Kenya Kwanza comes in as government or whether Azimio forms the government? Who will work with the government to implement? Remember, you can put a lot of emphasis on the presidency. President Uhuru Kenyatta never went to Bungoma to implement the manifesto for the governor of Bungoma. So likewise, when Raila Odinga or Ruto becomes the president, if you have the wrong governor,
or Maure,
or Wajakoya or Maure, they will not come to your county to implement the manifesto for you.
That is the work of the government.
That's the work of government. So
so, I mean, if we have to put that into perspective, and if we are investing in these politicians,
yes,
you know, as the citizenry of this country, and the reason why we are investing in them is because we want results. We want them to improve our livelihoods. We want security. We want good health care. We want our roads to be tarmacs.
Yes.
And so, I mean, anytime you're making an investment, you really have to go through the profile of the kind of the areas that you want to invest in, and then you make a choice. So how do we as Kenyans, before we invest in these politicians, how do we look at their profile and how do we decide and say, this is where I would want to invest in this candidate? Because at the end of the day, these are going to be the results.
Yeah, thank you very much. Because there's an analogy we usually give here that the president is the head. Governors are like the chest. Senators, the women rep are like your back. Your MP is like your leg, your MC is like your leg. So if you want to have a strong chest or brand, you must build a strong leg. You must bring a strong back. Then therefore all this will support the head, and then the head will do its work. How can you assess who should be your leader? I can tell you, history has always been good to us. And I know you can tell me you can predict by how they talk. No. Look at history. Who is this guy? Where are they coming from? What have they done? What are they known for? Someone cannot just come with a romantic name, for example, by saying, like Sonko said, I'm called Sonko. And guys like the word Sonko. And he changed his name to Sonko. That was not his name. And he was voted, become governor of Nairobi. What was the outcome? Look at history. Where are they coming from? What have they been known for? Wajakoya says what? What does he stand for? Honorable Mwaure, what does he say? What has he been known for? He's been a pastor. I know, for example, you can say, you cannot trust a pastor with the country just because he knows God. Does he know the economics? Look at his manifesto. What does he propose? So I'm sure if we look at this W first, why are they running? Ask that question, why are they running? And why is always very clear. Somebody says, I'm running because I was promised 10. Somebody says, I'm running because I want to transform the country. Ask, why is Wajakoya running? Do you know why? Me, I still don't know. I just know what he's proposing, but I don't know why he's running. So you ask yourself, your governor, why is he running? And then the second question is, what are the issues now and in the future? Because sometimes we look at the past, not knowing that the next president, when he goes to State House, the problems he'll be having will be different from when the Uhuru had. The issues Moi battle is not the issues Kibaki battle. We elected Kibaki replaced Moi because we didn't like Moi. But when Kibaki came, he had different issues. War in Somalia, Moi never had it. When Uhuru came in, he had the issue of COVID-19. Corona was there. Ukraine war was there. No one elected Uhuru knowing that we are going to have what? COVID-19. But now, the next president, what's happening? For me, we need to look at what is the world economy going. We are looking at knowledge economy. And knowledge economy is going to drive us. So why don't we look at why, what are the issues? Secondly, who are they? And I told you, what are they known for? What have they done? For example, I don't want to go into this debate by saying, if you can ask Ruto, those joining him to vote for him, which war is Ruto fighting? And what war is Raila fighting? Are they fighting the same war? I don't think so.
And what war is Wajakoya fighting?
And what war
and the same goes to
Mwaure fighting?
Or any other candidate for that matter.
So we have to check. Even a governor, you go, for example, in Machakos, we have so many candidates there, isn't it? What war are they fighting? You come to Nairobi, we have Sakaja, we have Igathe. Which war is Igathe fighting? Which war is Sakaja fighting? And which war are the other independent candidates fighting? So if you don't know what they are fighting, you are joining a war which you don't know people are fighting, you will lose it because you don't know why you're fighting.
And so that's why, I mean, you as a voter, I mean, you really have to look at the history of each candidate. You have to look at what they are offering. You have to look at their track record, if at all they have any, and then you make the right decisions. Because ultimately, the exercise that we are going to undertake on Tuesday is going to have a major bearing on where Kenya will head in the next 5 years, on where Kenya is likely to be when we get to the year 2027 and beyond.
And in fact, how you put it there clearly, what Kenyans need to know now is that why I am sometimes keeping one of the W very important. Who? Because what issues can change, why people run can change. But if you have the right person, the right leader, they can adapt to different circumstances and still give you a solution. But if you have the wrong leader, when what and why changes, they are not able to adjust to still give you the result you're expecting. So Kenyans, go back again as you sleep. Go and sleep this way. There's what you call sleep test in decision making. Sleep on your left and saying, Raila is my president. If sleep takes you, go vote him. If you sleep on the right and you say, Ruto is my president, and sleep catches you, vote him. If you sleep on the left, Wajakoya is my president, and you find you can sleep peacefully, vote Wajakoya. If you sleep on the right, Maura is my president, and you feel that you are comfortable, vote him. It's simple, because you'll feel you are leaving this country with who is holding the sword, like Uhuru says. Whom do you want me to give to the sword? If the sword is Mwaure, how will it feel like? Can you imagine Wajakoya with the sword? So, how will you sleep peacefully? If you are in this room and Wajakoya has a sword, can you fall asleep?
Or Wahiga Mwaure.
Or Wahiga Mwaura.
Or Raila
Odinga. Whom can you have sleep in a room when they have a sword peacefully?
And that's a question that you have to ask yourself.
That is a question you have to ask yourself.
Then you make the critical decision.
Yes.
Prof, because we have to come to a close. I mean, we started yesterday.
Yes.
Now it's Monday. We are coming to a close.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Monday the August.
Yeah.
I mean, 8th of August. So tomorrow people are going to the polls. So what is your final push, before we call it a morning, to Kenyans who are watching you and they are yet to make a decision, and who exactly is going to be my candidate?
First of all, Kenyans, this is the time you need to protect yourself.
I mean, of course, you don't have to tell them who they are going to vote for.
Yeah, no. Of course, that is not my work here. My work here, for us, me and you, our work here is to inform, to educate, but a little bit also entertain. So Kenyans, during this, the time is when people go into debts they don't want to go into. First of all, they are going to be told, spend your money, I'll pay you. I have been in election before. Agents will be told, just go there, we are going to send you money. But forget about that small part. The thing which can actually make you go broke in this election is that IBC has has announced at least 7 election offenses. Please don't commit them. I don't want to go to them. Some of them is no campaigning. No one should help you campaign for anybody. This is the time to vote, not to campaign. No removing, destroying, or concealing any election material. Don't do that. Third, don't threaten anybody. Don't harass anybody. Be a peace lover. The people who know whom they are going to vote for, they know. Just love peace. No transporting of votes. That's not your work. IBC will transport it. So anybody telling you to transport any votes from any part, no, those are fake votes. You'll be arrested. You'll be charged. Then, no bribery. Don't bribe or don't be bribed. But this also to the candidates. Do you know that most of the by-election takes place, 98% of them is because of committing electoral offenses. So if you want to win, please win clean. Then don't assist anybody or hamper anybody from voting. If at all somebody needs help, there are authorized officials in every polling station to help them. That's not your work. Lastly, this is a big joke. Do not put any ballot paper into a ballot box which is not a ballot paper. Like if you had a paper which...
Do not put any paper which is not a ballot box into a ballot paper.
Yeah. Do not put any paper which is not a ballot paper into a ballot box. It's an election offense. You can be charged for it because you are distracting counting. So keep away from there. Secondly, Kenyans, leave your house peacefully. Carry the right documents. Take a queue. Get identified. Vote. The IBC's portal has information on how to identify which polling station to go to. The number is there. Is star what? I don't have the idea now. I'm going to check mine before I drive to Ugenya to go and vote. But what I'm trying to say, follow the procedures. Be peaceful. It's not a war. We are only voting. After that, go home. Wait. Don't tell the results. No one is looking for your results.
Or you can even go to your workplace.
Yes, go to your workplace.
Go and
do
open
your
business.
The day you
tend to your shamba.
Thank you. In fact, the day politicians will discover that we really don't care too much, they will stop misusing us. You cannot ride somebody's back who has not bent. So do not bend your back so that somebody can ride your back.
what
Thank
I
you
like
very
about
much.
what you have said is, go vote for your candidate of choice.
Yes.
Okay, of course, make the right decision.
Yes.
Bearing in mind that the act that you are taking or the voting that will happen on Tuesday will have a major bearing on the economic, on the economy of this country, on the health of this country, on the, all the facets of this country.
Yeah.
In the next 5 years, in the next 10 years.
But most
so make the right
importantly,
choices. Yeah.
be wary of fake news, fake results. Official results will be tallied by the chair of IBC, Chebukati.
Wafula Chebukati.
Be at KBC, the national broadcaster, because the only thing we shall tell you is what has been verified.
Exactly.
Don't be sent YouTube confirmations of who has won the election, who is leading, who is not leading. Know where to get information. Ignore any other information which may mislead you. Focus on the right information. Don't go for fake results. We are not expecting any fake results. We're expecting results to be given officially by IBC. That's why we are at Bomas of Kenya, where we are going to give you what is relevant.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can say that again. That is why we are here. And of course, monitoring what is happening here. I told you we just next to the National Tallying Center. And, up to this point, which is slightly, it's 20 minutes actually past midnight. And I can tell you for sure that there are so many men and women out here who are sprucing up at the National Tallying Center. They have machines coming in and, of course, putting that final coat of paint on the National Tallying Center, and of course to help ensure that every beat is of course addressed, and of course come the Tuesday of this week, then everything will be ready to roll. Well, we started this conversation yesterday. That was on Sunday. Now it is Monday. Of course, it is 20 minutes past midnight here at the National Tallying Center at the Bomas of Kenya. This is where we've been camping. And of course, this is where we are going to be until the fat lady sings, as we say. So we are watching everything here, and of course this is a situation all over the country. Our reporters are on the ground. They are tracking the numbers. Of course, they are tracking the votes to help you get updated. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Good morning, Kenya. And of course, we'll take you now back to Broadcasting House, where Doreen Arange and Mr. Njoe are also going to take it up from here, and of course with more information. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Back to you, Broadcasting House.
All right, and that is just live from the Bomas of Kenya, where our very own O'Brien Kimani was just speaking to Dr. Fred Ogola, who is a public policy analyst. Of course, all systems go when it comes to matters election. But back to studio, and let's just quickly unpack for you what it is we were looking at earlier. And this is, those senators eyeing the top county job. And today our focus has just been on what and how Kiambu County is looking like. As you said earlier, this is the president's home turf, Gatundu to be very specific, and we are seeing a total of 7 candidates in this particular county. It has equally attracted candidates from both sides of the faction. I mean, when you look at Azimio as well as Kenya Kwanza, we obviously also have the incumbent, that is James Nyoro, who is seeking to defend his seat via the Jubilee Party ticket, which is under the larger Azimio fold. And clearly also a main focus, this evening being Senator Paul Wamatangi, not leaving Moses Kuria out of this, of the Chama Chakazi as well. That is the Gatundu South MP, again, also just trying to see if at all he's going to clinch this particular seat. And obviously, again, we also have William Kabogo, who was the first governor of Kiambu County. Remember that in 2017, he lost this seat to Ferdinand Waititu, who was actually the governor of Kiambu County. At that time, Waititu had slightly above 700,000 votes. He came in second with slightly above 200,000 votes. And this is just before Ferdinand Waititu was impeached from this particular seat that saw James Nyoro taking that seat since he was the deputy governor. But let's just quickly look at Senator Wamatangi, seeing that this is what we were focusing on, and away from his school life to what he has done in this county, particularly when you look at the different projects that he has done, even just as senator. We talked about the honorary award that he was able to receive just because of the various, kind of activities and works that he has performed, particularly for the larger community of Kiambu County. Also just telling you how he got the name Wamatangi as a result of distributing of water tanks to particularly organized groups of women, and seeing how well he can alleviate, people living in abject poverty in this particular county. Also largely that is what informed, that name. So clearly he got to elective politics in 2013. That is when he was elected as senator of this county. That was via the TNA ticket. That was in 2013. And shortly after that, in 2017, he sought to still maintain this particular seat. That was via the Jubilee Party to get re-elected again for this particular position, which actually he was and still is the senator of Kiambu County. While still serving in Senate, he was appointed as Majority Whip, and this is after, as we mentioned, Senator Kihika was asked from that particular seat, as well as Senator Irungu Kangata of Murang'a County. This is what saw the appointment of Paul Wamatangi to that position of Majority Whip. But shortly after, he defected from Jubilee Party and moved to UDA, and this is also what saw him just losing that particular seat as Majority Whip. So right now he is seeking to replace, if I may say, the incumbent governor, that is James Nyoro, who is also seeking to defend this seat. So while he was still serving in Senate, that is Senator Wamatangi, he is one of those that sponsored the Assumption of Office Governor Bill. So this particular bill just sought to look for a better way of transfer of, power of office from the outgoing governor to the incoming governor. So just as we look also at, the track record of this kind of senators, we are also looking at basically their role and how they have performed in parliament. So that is also largely what informs what we are doing here. But again, remember, we have talked about Kiambu being one of those key areas to watch. I mean, looking at 1.2 million voters, becoming the second county after Nairobi in terms of, bulk of voter turnouts. So we are clearly looking at the fact that will this be a vote in terms of affirmation, particularly for the president, or in protest? Because when you look at Kiambu County, to be very specific, there has also been a bit of complaints, particularly from residents. They are saying that this administration has not served them well. And just before we get to close on this, I'd like to bring our guest on this one, Troy. And when we look at the role of incumbent advice, I'd like to pick your mind on this one. We have largely seen how incumbent presidents, incumbent governors either endorsing a candidate, and we have seen how that has, flipped over time. So when you look at Kiambu County, to be very specific, what would be your analysis? Seeing that we have Deputy President enjoying massive support in this county, we have James Nyoro of Jubilee wanting to defend his seat on this county. How does that look like?
First of all, I don't really get the rationale that has been used to say Deputy President enjoys massive support in Kiambu County, because I don't think I fully agree with that. Because as it stands, Kiambu County is the county of the president. That's where the president comes from. It is very unlikely that the president would deteriorate so much in an area where he actually comes from. So there is a lot of shaping of perception in terms of someone trying to paint a certain picture. But very many people will be extremely shocked by what will actually be the result of the election. It is not easy to get a regional kingpin in the politics of this country out of their leadership. We have seen how much grasp people like Kalonzo Musyoka have had on Ukambani, despite them not actually even having being in office. We have seen the grasp that Raila Odinga has had on Nyanza, despite him not being in office. How would you then imagine the grasp that the president would have, not just in Kiambu but in Mount Kenya, when he is still the sitting president of the Republic of Kenya? So the president still has a very good command of the people of Kiambu, if for no other reason than for the reason that there is also a lot of work that the Jubilee administration has actually been able to do in Kiambu County. So I do not agree that that UDA is a front runner in Kiambu County. 2, I do not also agree that Senator Wamatangi is also a leading front runner in Kiambu County. If anything, the sitting governor of Kiambu County today is Honorable Nyoro. And by simple arithmetic, Kenya Kwanza in Kiambu County, out of the 6 candidates, I think has 5. So common political mathematics will tell you that there will be a subdivision of those votes.
Split votes,
and then it's more likely and more realistic that Governor Nyoro will come back to office in Kiambu County.
I hear you, Advice, and I mean, I'll take it back to you, but just going by what Advice is responding to there in terms of in respect to the kind of support UDA enjoys in that region. I mean, we won't delve that so much deeper into that because due to the constraint of time, but let's just have what you have on your end.
Actually, it's quite an interesting one, 7 candidates, and one thing, if you compare what happened in 2017 and what is happening in 2022, is that they have managed to get a running mate who happens to be a woman. If you have noticed, the 7 candidates, we even have a woman and a woman who are actually vying on an independent. That should be Agnes Washuka. Of course, because of the proximity to Nairobi, their high population is a keen county that Kenyans will also want to know exactly what will happen. But in less than 30 hours, over 46,200 polling stations will be open for Kenyans to exercise their democratic right. And we are giving a coverage, a 360 degrees coverage of pre and post election. But because of the interest of time, earlier on, before we crossed over to Bomas, we were looking at some of the semantics that are playing out, and especially because we are expecting a transition. We're expecting a new president and a new, basically a new government. So let me pick your mind on this as well. The president has had quite, as Professor had talked about, quite a robust foreign policy that will actually be one of his legacy. But back home, what do you think perhaps is one of the major legacy? Of course, some people will argue that there were some hits and misses, but at the end of the day, there is a legacy that he is leaving because of interest of time.
Definitely, President Uhuru Kenyatta has quite a legacy in the Republic of Kenya. First, beginning with the president took up the country when we had a virgin constitution. The implementation of this constitution has gone to very high levels during the presidency of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Today, independency of institutions in Kenya is something that was very far-fetched. Today is something that is a reality in this republic. You can be able to see independent institutions taking charge of their different mandates as prescribed by the constitution. You can be able to look at what he has been able to do even in terms of just rolling out devolution as prescribed by the constitution. That has been able to be done. Today we have 47 functional counties, and we have seen President Uhuru Kenyatta be able to release funds and just ensure and try to ensure that devolution is able to work for the people of the Republic of Kenya as prescribed for in the constitution. And away from that, we've been able to even see what he has been done in terms of youth inclusivity in government. We have had very young people actually take the center stage of government. Talk about people like C.A.S. Nadia, who actually got into office at barely 28, 29 years as an assistant minister. We have had so many directors. Look at Zach Kinuthia, who also barely got into office at a very young age. So the youth inclusivity question is something that President Uhuru Kenyatta, it cannot leave the legacy of President Kenyatta, including the gender card. We have seen so many women come in and be given very tangible focal point positions in the running of the government. That has been able to come out. And of course, anyone who cares to see cannot be able to delink infrastructural development from the work that the president has been able to do. We have seen today, you walk around and move around Nairobi, you drive around Nairobi, and you'll barely know that you're actually in Africa, from the expressway to the bypasses, from the Mau Mau roads. I think most of the work, like what President Kibaki was able to do in 10 years in terms of road construction, President Uhuru Kenyatta has done it tenfold. Yeah, so it is a massive legacy in infrastructure. It is legacy in implementation of the constitution. He has done quite a good job. He has done a lot of work in foreign policy. Today, Kenya sits on the UN Security Council. So I can go on and on, because I think the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta is not something anyone who has been in this country can be able to wish away. Not to mention the peace and tranquility that this country enjoys today, despite the 2017 election that ended at quite a high note. How he was able to bring those temperatures down and have this country run for 5 years without any hitch and promote a lot of peace and inclusivity in government is a question on quite another level.
Of course, and because of the interest of time, I want your final comment, and especially the clarion call for youths to turn out in large numbers and peaceful elections. Your final words.
Definitely, I would speak to fellow young people, together with the rest of every other person in the Republic of Kenya. Today we are getting into quite a critical moment where we have a decision to make about this country. It doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter how far the place you registered as voter is, but when you look at the interest of the country, when you look at the future of this country in the next 5 years, when you remember that it's by that vote that you can change your fortunes today and make them better tomorrow, I want to urge everyone that let us come out in large numbers and make our voice heard at the ballot, because therein lies our hopes and aspirations for a better country. I would also want to encourage and urge all our young people, together with the rest of Kenyans, that this country, the peace and tranquility it enjoys today, must be there tomorrow. It must be there for posterity, because it is only in this peaceful state that our dreams and aspirations can be achieved. So let us maintain peace, let us vote and go back home. Let those who are entitled to give us the results do it, and let us continue harboring the peaceful coexistence that we have always been. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you so much. That has been advice. And of course, with the great advice, and especially for the youths to turn up in large numbers. Remember, this is your only chance to make a difference in your life and for all those who you care about. And of course, that is where we put a cap for today.
Exactly.
Yep.
30 seconds. 30 hours to the vote. Yes. But just listen to that before we get to close it off. And, you know, that was a very good clarion call just from advice, particularly for the young people. But at IBC in, its list, this was about, what, 38.94%, amounting to 8.4 million youth voters out of the 22.1 million voters. And the question was that, are they all going to turn out? So what are we hearing? Let them all turn out and come and do what? And vote.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Remember, we are covering this from all the 290 constituencies, and we are keeping you updated. Remember, we'll also be crossing over to the Bomas of Kenya tomorrow, where, as you have seen, we have a live studio there for analysts, and of course, all IEBC related press conferences. We'll also keeping a keen eye on that. But that is where we wrap it up. My name is Bentro Enjoy. Thank you so much indeed for watching. Wow, the time has flew so fast. 12:30.
So we're saying what? Tomorrow is voting day? Tomorrow is D-Day.
Tomorrow is D-Day. Come out in large numbers and exercise your rights.
Exactly. And I'm Doreen Arange Okello. Have a good morning.
Yeah, indeed.
It's good morning.
As you prepare to cast your vote in this election, I want you to remember one thing. Just come a bit closer. That's right. That inside each one of you lies the power.
But stressed nothing we documented Ukrainian forces doing in any way justifies Russian violations. Well, Sunday was supposed to mark the end of China's show of military force around the island of Taiwan, but as things drew to a close, there was no confirmation that the drills wouldn't continue. Taipei said it detected 66 Chinese aircraft and 14 warships operating around its coastline, with the island now preparing to stage its own drills in the south on Tuesday and Thursday.